Welcome to the Ship Corrosion channel. My name is احتشام زاده. An introduction to this channel is available on video number E28. Chapter 9, Section 4, Risk-Based Inspection. In this video, flexibility in application of API RP 580, terms and definitions used in API RP 580 are discussed. The reference elements of a risk-based inspection program, API Recommended Practice 580. Risk and risk plot. Risk is the product of the probability of an event occurring during a period of interest or POF and the consequences, generally negative, associated with the event or COF. POF, the vertical axis, and COF, the horizontal axis. An ISO risk line shows a constant risk level. Risk increases toward the upper right-hand corner. Flexibility in application of API RP 580. Because of the broad diversity in organizational size, culture, and regulatory requirements, API RP 580 offers users the flexibility to create and implement an RBI program within the context of existing corporate risk management practices, including the selection and application of a specific RBI methodology. Various RBI methodologies exist and are currently being applied throughout industry. This RP is not intended to recommend nor endorse any specific methodology for implementing the assessment steps within an RBI program. However, this document is designed to provide a framework that specifies the minimum requirements and expectations needed for a quality risk assessment without imposing undue constraints on users. The terms and definitions described in this video are continuation of the video titled Chapter 9, Section 2 or number E40 and Chapter 9, Section 3 or number E41, in which the terms 1 to 40 are defined. Now, 41. Qualified person. A competent person who has met the knowledge and skill requirements and expectations of the owner-operator. 42. Qualitative risk analysis. A risk analysis using primarily subject matter expertise and experience to assign broad categorizations for POF and COF. 43. Quantitative risk analysis, QRA. A risk analysis that uses primarily model-based methods where numerical values are calculated and more discrete input data used. 44. Reassessment. The process of integrating inspection data or other changes into the risk analysis. 45. Relative risk. The comparative risk of a facility, process unit, system, equipment item, or component to other facilities, process units, systems, equipment items, or components, respectively. 46. Residual risk. The risk remaining after all specified risk management activities have been performed and or implemented. 47. Risk. A combination of the POF and COF associated with that failure. In some situations, risk is a deviation from the expected. When probability of failure and consequence of failure are expressed numerically, risk is the product. 48. Risk acceptance. a level of risk accepted by the owner-operator, whether by predetermined risk threshold or by appropriate approvals to operate with risk above threshold levels. Please do not hesitate to put your suggestions in the comments section. 49. Risk assessment or risk analysis. Systematic use of information to identify sources to estimate the risk, provide a basis for risk evaluation, and develop inspection planning, risk mitigation, and risk acceptance. Note: information can include historical data, theoretical analysis, informed opinions, and concerns of stakeholders. 50. Risk-based inspection or RBI, a risk assessment and management process that considers both the probability of failure and the consequence of failure due to material deterioration. 51. Risk-based management plan, prescriptive tasks used to manage risk for fixed equipment. Note: this could include, but is not limited to, inspection, examination, replacement, process monitoring, material upgrade, and/or reriding. 52. Risk criteria, terms of reference by which the significance of risk is assessed. Note: includes associated costs and benefits, legal and statutory requirements, socioeconomic and environmental aspects, concerns of stakeholders, priorities, and other inputs to the risk assessment. 53. Risk driver, the primary contributors responsible for a significant share of the equipment's or components' risk value. 54. Risk evaluation, the process is used to compare the estimated risk against a risk criteria to determine the significance of the risk. 55. Risk identification, process to find, list, and characterize factors of risk. Note: factors may include source, event, COF and POF, and/or stakeholder concerns. 56. Risk management, coordinated activities to direct and control an organization with regard to risk. Note: the coordinated activities may include risk evaluation, risk mitigation, risk acceptance, inspection planning, process monitoring, and communication. 57. Risk mitigation, process of selection and implementation of the measures to modify risk. Note: the term is sometimes used to refer to the measures themselves. 58. Risk reduction, actions taken to lessen the POF, COF, or both associated with a particular risk. 59. Risk threshold, criteria which depict acceptable versus unacceptable risk. 60. Semi-quantitative, a risk analysis using aspects of both a qualitative and quantitative risk analysis. Calculations may be used but can be based on the input of subject matter experts. Note: API Recommended Practice 581 is an example of a semi-quantitative risk analysis methodology. 61. Service life, the expected lifetime or the acceptable period during which an asset and/or component can safely and reliably perform within its intended operating envelope. 62. Source, thing or activity with a potential for consequence. Source in a safety context is a hazard. 63. Stakeholder, any individual, group, or organization that may be affected by or perceive itself to be affected by the risk. 64. System, A collection of equipment assembled for a specific function within a process unit. Example, service water system, distillation systems, and separation systems. 65. Toxic chemical. Any chemical that presents a physical or health hazard or an environmental hazard according to the appropriate material safety datasheet. 66. Turnaround. A period of downtime to perform inspection, maintenance, or modifications and prepare process equipment for the next operating cycle. 67. Unmitigated risk. The risk prior to mitigation activities. 68. User. The individual that is readily applying the principles, recommendations, and requirements herein to establish and maintain an RBI program. Challenge number 42. Thank you for your time and attention. If you like to challenge yourself, please answer these questions in the comments below. 1. According to the API RP 580, who is called a qualified person? 2. What is the definition of risk threshold? 3. Define unmitigated risk.